The CFL Gambling Podcast Week 2 preview picks and DFS episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their brand new Pick 8. Sign up, and when you do, sign up with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Underdogfantasy.com, promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm.
Hey everybody, Joe Theismann here. You're listening to SGPN. So do this, let it ride.
Welcome to the CFL Gambling Podcast. We are here week 2, preview picks, DFS, and much more, folks. Look, we're already at week 2. I'm excited to break down some of these matchups. And I'm upset that the Argos aren't playing because I wanted to evaluate them yet again. And I had the Joe Theismann, former Argo legend himself, on the intro there. But look, folks, hopefully you're watching this, on YouTube, youtube.com. Get over there, type in CFL Gambling Podcast. You'll get our stupid mugs. You know what I mean? So hop on over there, do that. Also, wherever podcasts can be found, subscribe, tell a friend, hit that like button. If you're watching, and please, if you can, hop over to iTunes, give us a 5-star review. We'd certainly appreciate it. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, well, my name is Kobe Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
Yeah, here we go. We got Canadian football. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They spread it out. They're so fucking genius. Oh my God. Can these other football leagues pay attention? Whether it's college, whether it's, FBS college, whether it's FCS college, whether it's UFL, ELF, NFL. Just take, I know there's the old act in the NFL where you can't because of back in 1961, JFK, before the bullet hit his fucking brain, he put in a little thing where they can't play on Friday and Saturdays. But either way, I'm super excited to I love the way they space it out. To me, like, it's one of the best things. I know it's only a 9-team league, but to me, we watched the UFL and they had competing games going on at the same time, makes it harder to watch and focus on. I am joined by my co-host on that UFL Gambling Podcast as well. So check out the UFL Gambling Podcast as well as this one. But our hearts here more so than the UFL. Look, he's the host of the Old Fashioned Football Podcast as well, which you need to check out. Who doesn't love whiskey talk? Mixed with football. You're meeting the distillers, it's just a really cool show. I think there's nothing like it out there, really original. Give it up for Justin Mark, aka J Mark. How you doing, brother?
Doing good. You got a lot of energy for 8:00 in the morning over there at your time. It's 10:00 mine, and I'm trying to find the energy. But what goes better? I mean, I would say CFL and Canadian whiskey goes together better, but a little CFL and coffee, let's go. I mean, It's great talking CFL this early in the morning.
And let me tell you, you can find some great coffees in British Columbia. I live here in Santa Monica, California, and my local coffee shop. And my wife is Colombian, by the way, so we're coffee snobs. And we would go to the coffee shop right up the street. Not like Starbucks or anything, just a mom and pop coffee shop, but they were getting for a while a lot of their coffee from British Columbia. And my wife, extreme skeptic, she goes, Canada coffee. I got it passed her test. So hey, get on over there. Canada's got good coffee too, folks. Yeah, you never know. You never know wherever it makes sense though. You got mountains. It's like why Hawaii does coffee well. You know what I mean? Like Colombia. If you haven't been to Colombia, they have a lot of mountains, and that's where a lot of the coffee's from. So I mean, it makes sense. British Columbia, let's go. And it doesn't make sense is the BC Lions being 0-1 though, and we're going to talk about them. They have I would say they might be in the biggest pressure spot. Them or Winnipeg, I think would be the argument there. Yeah, we're going to talk all that. But before we do that, I want to tell you, yes, you are listening to the CFL Gambling Podcast, and make sure to check out our new daily podcast dedicated to giving out underdog picks. Yes, the Daily Dog is a new podcast, 10-minute episodes dropping Monday through Friday. Check out the Daily Dog wherever you get your podcasts. Also, the Circa, Circa in Las Vegas, announced they're giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes for Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. Sign up in Vegas and play from anywhere with footballcontestproxy.com. Promo code SGP to get $50 off. That's footballcontestproxy.com. Promo code SGP. All right, we are back on the CFL Gambling Podcast, and look at any before we dive into these games, any reaction to anything were you thinking over the past couple days about maybe something you overreacted, maybe I don't know, just any news and notes catch your eye?
I think it's all overreactions at this point, right? We don't have enough data to go off of. We can just make some assumptions based off of what we saw. And we did our power rankings, posted those to the socials. Some people thought we were smoking the crack pipe. Got a couple comments.
Well, I am. I live. Venice Beach is about 100 yards from my house right now. The crack pipe, but you to live there, you have to partake.
Right. I did like this one so I posted them and I said, who do you agree with most? A lot of people said neither, which is fine. They don't have to agree with us, but I liked this one. I like the cut of this Colby Fellows jib, which I'm not even sure what that means, but he likes the cut of your jib. He's pretty stoked with what he saw versus the Bombers last week and definitely deserved the number one spot. We were way more dominant than the Argos in their win. But you don't win any trophies in week one. It's a long, cliche-filled season. Wonder how the Alouettes are going to respond to a week of hearing how good they are and how bad Edmonton is. We could be waltzing into some doo-doo out west on Friday. It's a bit of a character test. I like that response. That was a good one.
I like that. Now, did he spell jib J-I-B?
Yes.
So a triangular staysail set forward of the forwardmost mast. Okay. No idea what that means, but damn it, I like it. All right. I'm taking it as a positive. Shout out to the chat. Remember, you can hop in. You can let me know that I'm a fucking idiot or I'm the greatest human being and I have a great jib. But David Matola is in the chat and he says Winnipeg should be downgraded to the UFL after last week. We all lost a substantial amount of money on those Blue Bombers. So but man, it's funny doing the power rankings and people reacting. I don't understand it, but I mean, that's the beauty of, everyone having an opinion is right now. Like some people had Saskatchewan incredibly high, the Rough Riders. I love the Rough Riders. Like I got nothing against the Rough Riders, but you can't, I just don't think that they're the second or third best team in the league, and I've seen some of the people responding to that and, but that's the best part. Right now you're 1-0. Your fan bases have a ton of hope. I'm doing the college football previews too right now, and I just feel like that's always great when you have that hope and saying this is our year. So it's 1 weekend. We haven't even seen the Ottawa Redblacks play. So I like being. I'm a big fan of being called a fucking idiot. I don't know if you know this, but I've had a long history of that happening to me. But other news and notes, we saw Brady Oliveira is out.
Yeah. So he's out, even though the injury report still says questionable. Everything I'm hearing, he's not going to play. Kenny Lawler placed on the injured reserve after he got hurt in that game. So that's unfortunate for the Blue Bombers. Those are two big players that they need so that they can bounce back in week 2.
I also saw Tyler Snead, the former East Carolina Pirate wideout for the Montreal Alouettes, who had a good game last week. Now it was overshadowed by Philpott's 10 million yards, but that's a little bit of a hit to the Alouettes offense. All right, well, look, let's if you got any news and notes, be sure to let us know, folks. Information's always because you pull up the injury reports, don't really tell you much sometimes. Sometimes you gotta dive a little deeper. But all right, well, look, let's get into this. I got graphics and everything. That's why I believe the YouTube version is better than the other podcast version. But still, who cares? If you're out there delivering fucking mail or something, doing this, jump into this. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like it's not gonna make a difference. Shout out to Robert Martin checking in from Winnipeg. Hey fellas, he's wondering about his Blue Bombers. Robert, I'm assuming you're a Bombers fan living in Winnipeg, but if not, feel free to drop that in the chat. And also if you are, what the hell happened last week? Is it a bounce back spot this week? Because that is the first game we're gonna get to here. Winnipeg heading to Ottawa. Drew Brown getting the start for the Red Blacks. It's not Dustin Crum. If you are familiar with the movie Conan the Barbarian, but Winnipeg here laying 7 on the road at Ottawa against those Red Blacks. The over-unders at 46.5. Winnipeg minus 298 on the money line, and Ottawa plus 240 on the money line. This is all via DK. It almost seems too easy, right? I mean, like, it just almost. I'm just gonna bet. I'm David in the chat. Let's go back in on this. I know Oliveira's out. I know Ottawa, but I think there's a benefit, and I always say this when it comes to, you don't really have this problem in the NFL. But in college football, you do get a thing called week 0. And some teams get the benefit of playing week 0 and then they play week 1. I always think it benefits them to play week 0 because you just get in that rhythm. You start to, even though they played like shit, which clearly they did, which puts even more pressure on them to win this game. But also, you've kind of gotten the dust off in a way. So I am going to go back to the well, David. I am placing a substantial bet on Winnipeg minus 7. And I also am betting the over 46.5. These overs. Yes, I bet all 4 last week. I'm going to a 5th. No sense in taking the money line here. Just take minus 7 and the over 46.5. I like them both. I think the Oliveira injury sucks because he's, obviously been a big part of this offense, but I just think they're going to be in the more desperate team. And I also think Ottawa's the one that's got to dust themselves off here. What are you doing here, J Mark?
I struggled with this one, to be honest, because these teams, the past couple of years, they have played each other close, even though Ottawa nowhere near the power of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. But I mean, looking back, July 15th, 2023, it was 28-31 Ottawa won. And then in 2022, they played 2 games, 17-19 and 19-12. They were very close. You have to go back to 2019 for the last blowout where Winnipeg won 31-1.
But wait, how many times were Winnipeg coming in with a losing record? And that is why you buy in on the minus 7, I think.
Right. And that's why I struggled with this one, because it's a hard bounce back spot. It is too obvious.
Yeah.
It's a hard bounce back spot for Winnipeg. I mean, they just got embarrassed at home. Now they go on the road. But I bought into exactly what you said. Winnipeg's already worked out the rust. They got the kinks worked out. They're ready to kind of oil the machine and run a little better, right? Ottawa hasn't had that. They're going to have that first day jitters because they haven't played a regular season game yet. And because of that, because of who the Blue Bombers are, because of how well coached they are, I think you have to ride with them.
And the culture, the history,
yeah.
Even if they are an older team, they got to get up here. And I am terrified of the betting splits though, because I feel like everybody's going to load up on the Bombers, but I'm still doing it. I just believe they'll be able to figure this thing out.
I'm on the under though. I know you like the over. Okay. I'm going to take the under. I think Winnipeg is not going to be as dominant on offensive as we've seen in the past. But I do think their defense is going to tighten up and slow Ottawa. I still think Winnipeg covers, but I like the under here.
Okay. Well, you look back at last week's Winnipeg game, you saw just a drop touchdown on like a 40-yard out. You saw the fade in the end zone where, just poorly timed from Caleros and a little overthrown. The receiver also kind of looks like faded maybe in the wrong spot in a way. I don't know who that was on, but like those are the kinks that I mean of like the dust. I do think that gets worked out. You know what I mean? And that is why I think Winnipeg's going to score in the 30s. So then I'm asking myself is can Drew Brown and the Red Blacks, get 15, 16 points? And I think they can. That is my logic on the over. Shout out. And David, let's go back. Beer money on the line. Let's go. Let's move along to the next game. And that is the Montreal Alouettes heading over to Edmonton to take on the Eskimos. Montreal's laying 5. The over-under's at 47.5. Alouettes are minus 238. The Eskimos are plus 195 on the money line. I mean, it almost seems too easy here too, right? Like, we're definitely going to be. I mean, which game are we going to eat shit on? Because one is not coming. Because Montreal's got no Tyler Snead. The defense for Montreal looked fucking incredible, right? Edmonton was all over the place. They looked like they ran out of gas. McLeod, Bethel, Thompson, but they're also not going to have all. That was a big deal last week. They brought in all the old former players. There's no way I cannot take Montreal. They haven't lost a game in like fucking how many games now? They've won like 10 games in a row. I'm not starting here. I'm laying the 5. It's chalky as fuck. This one, I will take the under on 47.5. I think Montreal scores, especially with Snead being doubtful. I think they score in the high 20s. And then the question you got to ask yourself is what can Edmonton put together? I'm looking at a score something like 27-18 or something like that. So give me the under in this matchup. What are you doing here?
Yeah, I agree with you. This one seems too easy. Edmonton gave up 305 passing yards last week, and Cody Fajardo looked good last week for Montreal. So I feel like, I've kind of ragged on Cody Fajardo he's up and down type of quarterback. More recently, he's been up, and you expect that to continue against a defense that could not stop the pass. They did well stopping the run, but not the pass. I'm all over Montreal, but I like the under as well here. I think Montreal's defense is very good. I think, a lot of people saying, well, Winnipeg's terrible. I don't think Winnipeg is terrible from week 1. I think Montreal's defense is really good, and I think they're going to continue to be good. So I definitely like the under here. That's my favorite play in it, but I'm riding with Montreal on the 5 points. The line doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You'd think they'd be favored by more.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. We're gonna eat shit on one of these, but and I just feel like the betting splits are gonna be like Montreal. 99% of the money comes in on Montreal, and this would be another huge road win for them. I know Edmonton's not a great team by any means, but the Eskimos, they historically are have been good, but 2-0 on the road to start your season looks like you could be getting another Grey Cup potentially. You lean under too, you said?
Yeah, I like the under. I think Montreal's defense is just too good. Even if the offense puts up points, I think Edmonton's going to struggle.
I agree. McLeod, Bethel, Thompson look a little long on the tooth. So I know it's the first game for him, and I'm a fan of McLeod, Bethel, Thompson. But we'll see. Look, before we get to the next game, I want to tell you that the CFL Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Pick 8 is now live for the NBA Finals. Create entries with up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex entries, so you can miss up to 2 picks and still, win your entry. With more picks to make and extra ways to win, the excitement is higher than ever. And the best part is you can win up to 325 times the amount of the money you enter, essentially. And you can now use specials and boost on all flexed entries, which you didn't have that opportunity before. Don't miss your chance to try it out before it's gone. And another thing is, they do have CFL action, so check that out as well. Promo code TCE SGPN. Hop on over there, get your first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Once again, that is underdogfantasy.com. Promo code TCE SGPN. Next up, we are good. What's up?
I got 2 things for you real quick. One thing I love about Underdog is being able to combine different sports, or not even just different sports, different leagues. I put in one of those eight picks last week on UFL and CFL, and I hit 5 of the 8. Damn it. It's 6 of 8 would have paid some money. Just fell a little short there. The other thing, just shout out to the chat. Robert's been a fan of Winnipeg since the James Murphy days.
Whew.
And he misses Gizmo Williams. Loved watching that guy.
Great name. Great fucking name. You gotta love it. The Bombers are a classic team, and you gotta love. I know it seemed like people rejoiced in their loss online. But that's what, anytime that happens when a team makes a run and just been dominant for so long, all of a sudden you become public enemy number 1. Next up, though, we got the Calgary Stampede. This is the game I'm most excited to watch. Most likely. The Hamilton one, I have a future, but like this game, I think BC might be more desperate than Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm.
Winnipeg will say, well, we didn't have Oliveira. BC comes in with a lot of hype. You got the Grey Cup happening in British Columbia, and that offensive line looked very shaky. Now, maybe we recapped. If you haven't listened to the recap episode from week 1, go check it out. But maybe that's just Toronto's defensive line being the greatest thing, in this league. But I don't know. There's some questions here. Calgary looked good. They're catching 8 points at BC. The over/under set at 50.5. Calgary's plus 320 money line, and like I said, Calgary looked good week 1. BC's minus 410 on that money line. I'm taking the points just because I need that offensive line has to prove it to me. You know what I mean? The Vernon Adams put up big stats, but he was getting his ass whooped. I know he leads the league in passing by a substantial amount, I think, right now. And Jake Mayer, he didn't light it up from a yardage standpoint, second worst out of all the quarterbacks that played. But he still played good though. He played turnover-free football. 252 yards, 2 touchdowns. They didn't need to. He didn't need to be that guy. He also completed. He has the highest completion percentage in the league right now at 81%, just about. I know it's different. Life on the road is a little different, but yeah, until otherwise, I have to take a shot on the points, because that offensive line. And another thing is the defense. I was not impressed by BC's defense at all against Toronto. So I will take this. So that is why. But by the way, I think the better play in this game is the over 50.5. I think BC is going to score in the high 30s to early 40s. I think Calgary is going to be scoring some points as well. So love the over 50.5, even though it's the biggest number on the board as far as totals for this week. Your thoughts on this game, J Mark?
Well, I'm getting nervous that we're agreeing on everything again, because last week that happened and it didn't turn out so well for us.
4-4 hit my Argos money line play, which actually put me in the positive for the week. But yes, I understand your concern. Yeah.
I don't know how you can take 8 points with BC. I don't know how from what we saw last week, how can you expect them to win by that? I know they're at home, but I didn't think Calgary looked that bad. They didn't look 8-point underdog bad based on how BC showed out. BC only scored 27 points, but part of that was their defense. They had a defensive touchdown off of an interception there. So, yeah, 8 points is way too much. Give me Calgary.
Yeah, and I think BC, you said 20 offensive points. The fact they're back home, the fact they're in a more desperate spot, they are going to score points this game. Like, I would be very surprised if they did not score more than like 28 points. So that's why I think the over. Like I said, I think BC is going to score in the 30s, maybe even the 40s. But like, I think 35, 37, 38, and then you're asking yourself, okay, what is Calgary going to do? And I think Calgary is going to be able to move the ball. That BC defense was not encouraging to me. I know they had the defensive touchdown, but that was more so about Toronto to me than it was about BC. So I love. I think the over is the best total to take on the whole week.
Yeah, I like the over as well. And BC gave up 120 rushing yards. Not to
they're a little bit team, dude.
But
I like BC, but I'm saying like that's what my takeaway from week one was. I was like, let me get this straight. In the trenches, both sides of the ball, they looked like a finesse team. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, skill position players were studs. Those wideouts, stand back, we know is good. Skill position players were good, but football is more than that. So until I see otherwise, I think you got to take the points there. All right, next up, the Rough Riders of Saskatchewan, undefeated, heading into Hamilton. The Rough Riders currently laying 1 at DK. But it's hilarious. They're laying 1, but Hamilton's minus 115 on the money line. You figure it out. The over under is 48. I think where I'm at here. Hamilton is a lock to me. I think they're better than Saskatchewan. Right now at least. The yardage they put together, like we said, they stalled in the first quarter, but since then they were moving that rock, and I think it shows this week at home. I like the over again in this one. I'm going with 7 out of my first 8 plays will be overs. But I just think that Scott Milanovich had figured it out too late for game 1. But I do think that they'll be able to. I mean, I guess you take the point because the juice is probably the same, so you might as well take the fucking point. But give me Hamilton +1, and I lean towards the over. I don't feel as good about this one, but I just think with the way Hamilton, you put up 500 yards or whatever. If they do that again, which remember they stalled in the first quarter, so I do think they'll put up a similar number. I know the Rough Riders are, have changed their philosophy as for coaching. This used to be a bigger emphasis on defense, but I just think that Hamilton will be able to get their yardage there. I love the Ticats to get their first win of the season. What are you doing here, man?
Well, I'm benedicting my first play because we can't agree on every game again. I won't allow it. So give me Ottawa on the points. Why not? Let's lean into Winnipeg.
I don't get.
Wait, so you're benedicting which game?
Winnipeg, Ottawa. Give me Ottawa.
Okay, he's taking it. Yeah. Okay.
I'm switching back. I think they keep it close. They've kept it close the past couple years. We're switching there.
It's easy to see a tide turn.
Because I refuse to agree on every single game because I'm all over Hamilton as well. It's one of my favorite plays this week. I think we talked about in the recap show, they started slow, but they started looking like, okay, this is a team that we could get behind towards the end of that game. Saskatchewan, I think, got a little bit lucky with their fourth quarter. So yeah, give me Hamilton. I agree with you. You might as well take the point since the money line is juiced. Though you only pay the juice if you lose, as Cody Z with the NASCAR Gambling Podcast says. The total I don't have a strong lean on.
That's the hardest total of all 4.
It is. I wrote down the under. I think it's going to be a slower, grinded out type of game. So I wrote down under on my my little, bottom line bombs, man in the box, the papers and the passion. I got it all written down here. So I'll stick with that. I'll go with the under.
Check out the Bottom Line Bombs podcast with the great CJ Sullivan. Yeah. I mean, I thought that was the shakiest. That was the hardest total for me to say. But then I was like, man, Hamilton put up that many yards. Let me just that means if they had that many yards and they sucked the first quarter, what can they do this week? And I was like, okay, they probably can get into the 30s. And then you're asking yourself, can the Rough Riders get 2 scores potentially? We'll see. But I lean over there, but it's not my best play. Lock and dog. Before I give out the special parlay that we always do here, but what's the game you feel best about, man?
Montreal. I'm locking Montreal. I don't understand the spread there because I thought they looked really good and Edmonton did not look great. So yeah, I'm locking Montreal up.
Justin Mark locking up the Alouettes, laying 5 at the Eskimos. Interesting. I'm locking up the Hamilton Tiger Cats plus what? I just think they're gonna have too much offense against Saskatchewan. I think that's the best like spread play. Now for the dog, and I'll say this actually, Hamilton Ticats. If you're talking, I have a lock on the total too. I don't know if you want to do. I don't know how comfortable you feel, but I think that you lock that over in the BC Calgary game as well. For the dog, the juiciest dog, I think. Well, I took, I guess technically the Hamilton line crossed over 0. They were at 1 point favorite like 48 hours ago or 30 hours ago, but that basically puts me on 2 dogs this week right now. Because Hamilton's odds are shitty for them to win, -115 on the money line. We're gonna sprinkle the Stampeders at +320. All right, just sprinkle a little bit on those until we look. BC Vernon Adams was dinged up a little bit. He's ready to go, but you take that many hits again, and Calgary looked good. So Dave Dickinson +320. Let's go. How about you for a money line play?
Yeah, this was tough because while I think Calgary covers, I don't know if I'm confident in them to win. That's really the only dog I was on until I Benedicted. So I might as well be full Benedict, full change horse midstreams. Bombers start 0-2, wondering what the hell are they doing? They dropped in our power rankings even lower. Let's go Red Blacks.
Wow.
Sorry to Robert.
You got chat. Robert Martin in the chat. He just unsubscribed. He's saying,
"The fuck is that?"
Yeah. All right. Well, look. Now we get to the moment everyone's been waiting for. Yes. Don't forget the Canadian Football League. It was the real person or the real association behind the Pivot's Huge Shit Parlay of the Week. And last week it should have hit for me, but it did not. But it's gonna be all right because I'm always ready. I do have a parlay to give away here. And it's a 3. Look, last week I gave away 2. It didn't hit because it was too small. All right. So I realized, much like Tommy Lee's dick, you got to be big. You know what I mean? And Hamilton -115, or you take the point. Take the point, actually, the more I think about it. Parlay that with the over 50.5 in the BC Calgary game at -110. And take the Winnipeg Blue Bombers -7. Shout out to Robert Martin. Throw $50 on that. You're taking home $298.42. And like, that's with the Hamilton shitty odds. You might as well just get the +1 at -110. And it even improves that. You're going to be a little bit over $300. So, what are you doing? Hop on over on the Pam Anderson Huge Tits Parlay. It's going to cash. And, don't worry because, that's not all we're going to give you. Justin Mark, aka No Turn J Mark. He's got one too.
3-leg parlay going on his Pam Anderson huge sits parlay. That is the Montreal Alouettes -5 at -108. Parlayed with Calgary +8. Not taking the money line, I notice. -108 as well. Added into then the third leg would be the Hamilton Ticats -115. He's throwing $50 on there. $296.73 is the payout there. So mine's a little more juicy. For a few extra bucks, get yourself a Slurpee at 7-Eleven. All right. Pam Anderson, huge tits parlay of the week, brought to you by fake tits throughout the world. Yes. And if what we're looking for a plastic surgeon to come on here and make guest picks at some point. But next up we got DFS, and I'm excited about. I feel way more confident this week than last week, which I did not hit for any cash. Well, then again, I accidentally had a guy that it was a disaster. Let's just say for week 1 DFS. But before we jump over there, I want to tell you that the CFL Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Rhythm. Look, if you're betting on NBA player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm gives you a menu of the best player props for every single NBA playoff game, making it easy to go through and find the best props to put your money on in a matter of seconds. Rhythm's predictions are backed by over 3 years of data and a team of data scientists and quants that focus on fine-tuning their algorithm to give you the best shot at winning. Rhythm pairs its predictions with player prop graphs to help you feel even more confident in your picks, which you can make wherever you normally place your bets or DFS picks. From superstars to bench players, Rhythm finds the best player prop lines, all backed by AI data without you needing to endlessly scroll through some sports book. Rhythm, what are you doing? It allows you to create your own custom NBA models. All right. So you can get backed by AI data, money line spread, all that stuff, totals, all for every single NBA playoff game. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time's now a authorized ticket marketplace of the MLB. Yes, Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer you get to the first pitch, with killer deals, killer last minute deals, I should say. All in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Like, you going to the Blue Jays game because the Argos aren't playing this week. You're saying, what the hell? My Argos aren't playing this week. Get on over there, check out a Blue Jays game. But use the Game Time app when you do it. You'll save up to 60% off buying last minute. Look, if you find something better, which you won't, they have this guarantee. Take the guesswork out of buying the tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that promo code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Once again, create that account, redeeming code CFBX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we are back on the CFL Gambling Podcast, and now we can remove the fake tits out of the and just go back to this DFS plays here. How'd you feel about the DFS slate?
I felt good. I always feel weird when you have a bunch of money left over, but also if you looked at I use DK for the DFS platform. It seems like a lot of prices were not adjusted yet based off of week 1. So some of these guys, I feel like I got them cheap, and they won't be as cheap next week or a couple weeks from now.
That's the one thing that jumped out to me. I was like, first off, I'm curious if we have how much of the same roster we have, because I was shocked at some of the scoring, like as far as like some of the value of getting some of the better players after week 1 at a very discounted rate. At the quarterback spot, who are you going with?
So I wrestled back and forth, and I like the rest of my lineup. This is the one that I felt like I could switch in and out. I had Vernon Adams in there at one point, but I ended up going with Cody Fajardo. Edmonton allowed a lot of passing yards last week. Fajardo looked good against Winnipeg, and the Blue Bombers historically have had a good defense. So if you can look good against them, you should look good against Edmonton. He's only 8,400, one of the cheaper quarterbacks. And he still had 254 yards, 2 touchdowns. I know he had the interception, but not worried about that. Give me Cody Fajardo.
Look, he looked good last week. So, yeah, and he seems to be getting more and more comfortable in that offense as the games go on. A little concerned, no Tyler Snead. I know he was kind of a guy that definitely did contribute, and he got some targets too. But I'm sure it's next man up. I did go. See, I was battling. To me, it was Bo Levi Mitchell who looked shaky early, but I thought as the game went along, he looked better and better and better. And Vernon Adams, I ended up because I had the money. I was like, you know what? Just give me Vernon Adams because originally I had $5,400 left over that I just went out and got Vernon Adams. So I have I still have over $4,000 out there not being spent. But Vernon Adams, I expect him to bounce back at home. I know that he got a little dinged up last week, but to me, the offensive line's horrible. But he's still last week he was the most sacked quarterback in the league, and he still threw for 363, 2 touchdowns and a pick. So I mean, and that doesn't include he also had some rushing yards, I believe, too. So I had to just say, wait, don't overthink this. Let's go with Vernon Adams. So yeah, I think they're going to score a lot of points. That's why I'm on the over. So Vernon Adams is the play. Running back, I'm assuming we have the same guy because he was fire last week for you. I didn't roster him, but he's your boy, former Iowa Hawkeye, right?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he had 13 carries, 119 yards, only had 1 catch, and he's known for being able to catch the ball out of the backfield. I think he was 15th among all players last year in receptions. So I'd like to see him get a little more involved there for DFS purposes, but still he ran hard. James Butler, I think it's an easy play.
Yeah. Look, I just had to do it. Last week I saw how you're right. They get him the ball out the backfield. He was averaging over 9 yards a rush. So yeah, it was a no-brainer to jump on this week, especially knowing how much offense Hamilton put up. So at 9,100, I did roster. We did have the same guy there, and I will play the music for the same guy. Let's go, James Butler. Don't let me down. At the wide receiver spot, your top. So I only did 1 running back. You?
I have 2 running backs.
Okay. Give out your second.
All right. So my second is Dedrick Mills for Calgary. He looked good. I didn't think they were going to have a great running game, but I thought he looked really good. And they're going against BC, who just gave up 120 rushing yards. Calgary had 117 last week. So I think they continue to ride that momentum. They continue to where BC gets pushed around in the trenches and they're able to run the ball. And that's how Calgary keeps this game close.
I like it. I mean, that's a smart play. It's a smart play. I just loaded up with the wideouts, but I like that play. I think it makes a lot of sense. My top price wideout. I mean, I'm all over this game, so I'm gonna sound like a broken record over the next couple plays for the most part. But I'm loading up on this BC receiving core, so I can get Alexander Hollins. He had 8 for 90, I think it was last week. And I think they're going to score more on offense this week, just 20 points on offense. I think they're coming for scoring in the 30s to maybe even early 40s. So I loaded up on, like I said, multiple wideouts in this game, but yeah, Alex Hollins for the BC Lions. How about you? Your next wideout?
Play the music. He's my only BC wideout. Yeah, you can't go wrong with that.
Let's go. Well, give out your second wide receiver too then.
All right, second wide receiver. Maybe chasing numbers a little bit here, maybe. But I'm stacking them with Cody Fajardo, Tyson Philpott, 11 targets, 10 receptions for 141 yards and 2 touchdowns.
And Snead's out, so it's like they're definitely gonna. This was a no-brainer to me. I couldn't believe he's only 4,400. What the hell? Someone fell asleep on the job. Yeah, 4,400. Tyson Philpott. Okay. All right. We'll give out a third wide receiver then.
All right. This is a guy that when I saw his name, I went, who? But for Calgary, Clark Barnes. He had 8 targets, 6 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown. and he's only 3,700. This is why I had so much money left over. I mean, the prices haven't been adjusted. He was the highest targeted player on the team. I think that's going to carry over. I mean, obviously they feel comfortable throwing to him and getting him involved. So yeah, give me Clark Barnes.
Well, how much he was? 3,700.
Yeah.
If you want to save a little more money, because I mean, look, it makes a lot of sense. 6 for 61 a week ago. But what if I told you can get a guy that had 7 for 85 and he's on the Hamilton Ticats and he's only at 3,500? I'm referring to Shamar Bridges. That's what I'm doing here because I think that offense is going to put up stats no matter what. So Shamar Bridges at $3,500. I think you got one more player left, right?
I think I gave them all out.
Oh,
I got Cody Fajardo, James Butler, Dedrick Mills, Tyson Philbot, Clark Barnes, and Alexander Hollins.
Oh yeah,
So
you're right.
You
did
left.
2 running backs. Well, I also loaded up on. I paid 4,700. I don't understand why he's 4,700. He had 7 for 103 and a score last week. Justin McInnes. I don't understand it. So I loaded up. I got both BC wideouts and and Vernon Adams. So need those points. Need those points in that game. For the defense, what did you do?
I went Alouettes. I could afford any of the defenses, but they were pretty dominant.
Me too. I thought about Winnipeg, but I was like, no, don't overthink this, man. The Alouettes defense looked really good, and Edmonton looked, they looked shaky as the game went on, I would say. So definitely went on with the Alouettes there. And look, that's our show, folks. So we invite you to come play DFS with us. Please hop on over. If you're in a place where you can play on DK, let us know. We're on Twitter at CFL Gambling Pod, and obviously YouTube. Just type in CFL Gambling Podcast. I believe it's youtube.com/CFL Gambling Pod. I think. If not, just type in CFL Gambling Podcast. I look this up every time, but I always forget. Might be Gambling Pod like SGPN.
CFL. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
CFL Gambling Pod SGPN. But hop on over there, check it out, subscribe, hit that like and subscribe button, and please, if you can, hop over to iTunes, give us a 5-star review. We'd certainly appreciate it. Make sure you check out Justin on Twitter at JMarkFootball. Give him a follow. Check out the Old Fashioned Football Podcast. And look, if you know any Canadian distillers or actually fucking American distillers, you want to get, if your brother, sister, whoever is affiliated, or your friend, your old best buddy from childhood is creating his own whiskey. It doesn't even have to be whiskey. You could be making goddamn Capri Suns. No, I'm joking. You could be making, vodka or gin, whatever. Just let us know. We'll promote it. Reach out, and J-Mark will potentially have you on the show. So yeah. check out the Old Fashioned Football Podcast. It's I think one of the more unique podcasts, and I highly encourage you, if you like whiskey and you like football, which I think if you're listening to this, you like football. We'll see about the whiskey, but it just kind of goes hand in hand. Also, check out the UFL Gambling Podcast Championship game over there. J Mark and myself and the Bet Detective CJ Sullivan host that. I'm on Twitter at the Colby D. Give me a follow. The CFL Gambling Podcast is on Twitter at CFL Gambling Pod. Check out some of my other podcasts, the College Football Experience. I also, big into college football, the FCS College Football Experience as well. And don't forget, and by the way, Simon Fraser, bring back your fucking football program. But also check out the Stadium Heads podcast, myself and College Football Campus Tour, aka Michael Barker, who I know is planning a CFL tour, but we talk about the history of all these stadiums and why college football is so great. Check it out. Because a lot of people don't realize that they started the fucking sport. Yeah, check it all out. It's really cool. Check out the Sports Gambling Podcast. They're live on VSiN every single Friday night. That's Brent Musburger's network out of Las Vegas, Nevada, VSIN. So check it out. Sports Gambling Podcast, talking everything. Obviously we got the Stanley Cup going on. Check out the Hockey Gambling Podcast. Those guys are doing great work over there with the Stanley Cup going on. And look, I'm rooting for Edmonton. I'd love to see, I feel like the whole country of Canada is rooting for Edmonton, as they should in a way. So I'm rooting for them. We'll see if they can get it done. Until next time, though, we'll have a reaction show Monday. Appreciate you tuning in, and let's make some cash. All right. Until next time, this is the CFL Gambling Podcast. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run.